Sunrisers Hyderabad, and with me are two very respectable and honorable guests, cricket experts who know almost everything about cricket. First of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
So we've someone from Australia, we've people, someone from Zimbabwe, all supporting this Indian Premier League. But before we start our conversation, who is winning today? The big question for you.
Well, I think it's very, very difficult to pick. And I think one of the big things is going to be who gets the better of conditions. Now, the dew is such a massive factor. It didn't come in the game 2 nights ago. Will it come in tonight? No one seems to know. That's what's so weird. I keep on trying to find a metric that can predict it, and the dew point and various other things just seem to be out the window. So, interestingly, when the last time this particular pitch was used back at the start of May, it was Punjab versus Chennai, and Punjab restricted Chennai to about 160, and then the dew came in. Chennai spinners were no good. Punjab chased the runs down in a canter. There's a feeling, I think, that maybe tonight, once again, the dew will not come in which case you win the toss and bat
first.
And then all of a sudden your spinners will be effective in the second inning. So that being said, KKR have been the best team in the tournament, I think, by a little bit. But I think on the one-off match tonight, if forced, I'll go Sunrisers Hyderabad as my tip.
It's going to be Sunrisers Hyderabad, and it's a very. I'll come to the factor of the dew and the toss later. But yeah, who are you supporting today?
I'm going to go with KKR for one simple reason alone. I think they've been very consistent. I think they've probably been the one team that has had less to think about with regards to their combinations.
The combinations
have been good. 1 to 11. The players have been consistent. It's not just a Sunil kind of performance alone. They've had Kolkata Iyer also coming into the batting. You've got
Shreyas Iyer.
So there's been contributions throughout the batting.
Contributions throughout.
It's the same thing with regards to the bowling. There's been contributions, not just Sunil with the ball. A lot of these bowlers got 15 wickets plus. So it's a massive combination. It's been a collective effort. It means for me is this is a team that pretty much has a clear plan and clear role play. Because I think at this format of the game,
they do have a clear role play. But don't you feel that they just had for the qualifiers without Phil Salt? They just played a match, and that was a low-scoring game. Venkatesh Iyer and Shreyas Iyer took away the game. But in case it becomes a high-scoring match today, don't you think KKR will miss Phil Salt to a very big extent? Because on the other hand, Sunrisers Hyderabad have 2 explosive openers. Travis Head and Abhishek Sharma have been absolute phenomenal this season. But KKR, will they miss Phil Salt in the final?
Well, look, it now comes down to how Gubas is going to be used.
Okay.
At the end of the day, he's the man who is there. He's the man who's been selected.
Okay.
He's only had 1 game to try and get accustomed to conditions, to try and get himself in somewhat of a match in the KKR team playing a good start. So sure, you don't come up with anything less than a certain strike rate.
At least a 170 strike rate is something that we require of an opener, and especially in such kind of a wicket. But now coming back to the toss factor and the dew factor that you were talking about, and the dew did not came in the last match, but the last match in Chennai, 170, it was the qualifier too. 170 was a big total. It became very hard to chase. But I don't think Sunrisers Hyderabad or KKR are any of the teams that will not be able to chase 170 down because of the depth that they have in their batting. But I was comparing both the teams. Top order remains heavy for Sunrisers Hyderabad. The opening remains heavy. But do they have the strength in middle order?
It's a very good question. I mean, I think Klaasen is a superb player. Tripathi has been a breath of fresh air.
Exactly.
I keep on saying on anyone who wants to hear, I'm always amazed they don't give Glenn Phillips a
chance. Yeah,
he's a superb player, and I think he's a better option than Aidan Markham because he's a very handy off-spin bowler as well. So,
and not to forget the fielding part.
Yeah, absolutely, he's a superstar in the field. But I think it's a really good point that if they are batting second, and let's say the dew doesn't come in, that middle order up against Varun Chakravarti and Sunil Narine, they are going to find that really, really difficult. Because one of the things you noticed about KKR, before each game, I've been kind of looking at the stats and exporting them and doing a few things. Every time you go to KKR, the export is so much smaller for the bowlers than any other lineup. It's just the 6. They have just been remarkable. 7th most used bowler. It might be Anakul Roy, who's so consistent. So I think that those top two have been superb. And I was saying on the show tonight that I think that Boomer's been the best bowler of the entire tournament. Those two have been the second and third best.
Second and third best, and that's the reason they're in the final.
One of the
biggest reasons that they're in the final. But also coming to the fact that Gautam Gambhir, he always, try to inculcate some new changes. He does not change the team. He changes the strategy. So what do you think will be going on in his mind in such a big match? And also I would like to remind you, back in 2012 and 2014, there were Indian uncapped batsmen. Manvinder Bisla back in 2012 and Manish Pandey in 2014, who took it away, who got the trophy for Kolkata Knight Riders in the finals. So do you see that happening again, that an Indian batsman stepping up for KKR and taking things away? Or it might be on the other hand be Abhishek Sharma just coming and finishing things off for Sunrisers?
Look, I think that if it's a pitch that if it's a high-scoring pitch, I think that definitely favours Sunrisers Hyderabad. And one of the challenges I think for KKR in that instance is that two of their best players have been batting at 7 and 8 throughout the entire tournament. Andre Russell at 7 and Ramandeep Singh at 8. They've been right at the top as far as strike rates have been concerned. They've had good averages. Their total run scoring, especially in the case of Ramandeep Singh, has been low because they just haven't been given the opportunity. So I think if it's a pitch where it is a 220 pitch, and I tend to think it won't be.
It won't be a T20, 220.
Which is a pity, because I think given this IPL has been of that theme, it deserves to have a final that goes along those lines. So if it was going to be a high-scoring pitch, then I would say that KKR could be disadvantaged, A, as you mentioned, with the disappearance of Phil Salt, and B, with the fact that they've got those two power hitters so far down low. But if it's a pitch where, as we're talking about, 160, 170 is a good total, then I think Venkatesh Iyer and Shreyas Iyer especially really do come into their own. And yeah, if you talk about an Indian player who could be a star, then either one of those two could well be.
Either one of those could be. But coming back to the pitch, I don't think so. We are 220 plus pitch, and Chennai's wicket has never been sort of. One factor comes in again, and there are two mindsets that are going around there. They might be due, go bowl first, go 180, 190, then the due will come in, then you score. And the other traditional factor that's been prevalent in all the finals, bat first, make a big total, and go and win the match. So which mindset and which team will, we have two different teams, both of them with similar yet different mindsets. So what will the teams be willing to do if they win the toss?
Well, I wonder how much knowledge they have, because given how much the factor that due plays now, and given that I certainly am not smart enough to be able to predict it. Maybe if they've been smart, and they are pretty smart, these franchises, I would have had someone in Chennai, pretty much every Indian city now, for the last 3 years, every night recording it. Say, was there dew or wasn't there? And apparently there's no dew last night, there's no dew the night before. Speaking to locals, if they have got the impression that based on the weather that's occurring today, there will be no dew, then you win the toss and you bat. But the 1st of May, as I said, that previous game I referred to when there was plenty of dew, and the semi-final 2 nights ago when there was no dew, I spent today comparing the way that the days unfolded in terms of temperature, in terms of cloud cover, in terms of humidity, in terms of everything. They're identical. So how one had dew and one didn't? It's too clever for me. So maybe if they've got people on the ground who can tell them confidently whether there's going to be dew or not, that will inform their decision at the toss.
That will inform their decision, but just like you mentioned, Indians and Indian weather is unpredictable. But coming back to the thing, how will even the experts, before the match starts, you'll not be able to know whether the toss is at 7. You cannot know that if there will be dew at 9:30 or not. So you'll have to take a call. You'll have to take the risk. And coming back to the risk, it's a two-sided sword. If you go and you bat first and you score 180, but the dew comes in, it'll be changed very easily. And on the contrary, if you bowl first and the other team scores a couple of 100 runs, you'll not be able to get there.
I think, all things being equal, Pat Cummins will want to bat first.
Pat Cummins would want to bat first?
In the World Cup final, it was a pitch at Ahmedabad. They had the black soil, and he was very big on, you've got to bowl first with the black soil. Okay. Tonight's pitch has the red soil, so I think that take the opposite of that. Maybe he'll want to say bat first, and it has been the Sunrisers' strength throughout the year. I think Stanley was making the point to me earlier today when we were having a chat, though, that I think, is it right that KKR kind of batting first is ideal for Sunrisers and batting second KKR with the big asterisk of depending on what the dew does.
They wouldn't have to toss today. That might happen. They will just
potentially, yeah.
Potentially that might happen. But so coming to you, what do you think KKR strategy would be? You supporting KKR, and that they're not going to have these openers. So the traditional Phil Salt will not be there. So what do you think Gautam Gambhir will be thinking? First of all, will there be any changes in both the sides, or both of the teams will go with the same side?
Look, I'll tell you this for a fact. No coach selects a team on the fact that they might be or they may not be due. Okay. So at the end of the day, you select a team based on the conditions that you see immediate.
Okay.
What the wicket is like at that moment of time. Right. So KKR have been consistent.
Okay.
The only change they've had to have made is forced.
It's forced.
Right?
Absolutely.
That's the only change they've had to make. And that's Huber's coming in for Phil Salt. So their bowling has been fantastic. Everything else, bar for the loss of Phil Salt, has been fantastic. They don't have to change a thing. Both these captains, I don't think they're two captains who are faced with the toss wide. They're both two captains who are comfortable to either be doing both, either batting first or bowling first. Right? At the end of the day, the toss is going to be done. Somebody's going to win it, somebody's going to lose it.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, you've got to do what's required on that surface to win a game. Are the players prepared for it? They have to be. There's so much we can do. There's so much we can talk about how it might go. At the end of the day, you've got to go onto that wicket and you've got to do job as you've been selected by the coach to make sure that you get across the line.
Absolutely. So looking at the wicket, you have to decide what's your side going to be. But there's one battle we haven't talked about. The battle of 24 crores 70 lakhs versus 20 crores 50 lakhs. Again, making it easier for you. Pat Cummins versus Mitchell Starc. Who's going to bowl better tonight? The left arm quickie or the captain of the Australian side?
For me, it's a matchup.
It's a matchup, okay.
It's a matchup, and I think it's a matchup that's favouring the left arm seamer.
The left arm seamer.
Why? Travis Head, Abhishek, left-hand batsman, right? Especially Travis Head. And generally, when you bowl, he's been scoring heavily straight through to that deep mid-wicket area.
Deep mid-wicket
right?
area. Absolutely.
Anything outside the line of them swinging away even better, which is the strength of Mitchell Starc.
Absolutely.
Right? So for me, he's won the battle prior in the first qualifier, right? I don't see them changing that.
Obviously not.
I don't see them changing that. So at the end of the day, I think, look, Mitchell, for me, Pat Cummins, we were talking earlier, and I don't know why he's not captain of the Australian squad for the T20. I think he's been fantastic. It's not too many times that you see a strike bowler, front line bowler, saying to himself, okay, I'm just going to bowl one over in the power play.
Yeah.
Reserve myself for the later stages. He's a World Cup winner. He's a serious campaigner for that. But he's done that for the sake of the team, and it has worked. So, yes, we can put a price tag to it at the end of the day, but I think the better player at the end of the day is the one who lifts the trophy, whether you're the highest.
Absolutely. And but we've not talked about the luck that has favored Pat Cummins over the years. WTC holder, the World Test champion captain, the World Cup winning captain ODI. Now, I think his luck might favor him to hold the IPL trophy as well. So, you going with that? Are you with me on this or not?
Yeah, I hope so. I really like Pat Cummins. I don't dislike Mitchell Starc, but I do like Pat Cummins, and I do like the fact that he has brought a little bit of grace back to Australian cricket. That the younger generation would only associate Australian cricket with sledging, success, and probably sandpaper, the three S's. But it used to be before my time, but for a long time in the past, Australian cricket has kind of led the world as far as grace and sportsmanship was.
Obviously. But
then it became this whole notion that unless we're horrible to the opposition, we don't get the best out of ourselves. And I used to always say, well, look at Roger Federer. He doesn't have to carry on like a goose. And it's been so gratifying to me that an Australian captain has come along who said, okay, we'll play as hard as you possibly can. Bold bouncers, do everything, but we can have some grace and conduct ourselves in that spirit in the past. So I hope he gets success. He deserves the success. And it's a good point that Stanley makes around the fact that he's not himself. And as you said, he's become this captain that just seems to win everything. So the decision to now have him not Australian captain looks a bit strange. At the time it was made, it was okay, but it has become more and more strange as the months have gone by.
But drawing a parallel with this what's happening with Pat Cummins to what happened with Virat Kohli. So I think it's better. For us, when Virat Kohli wanted to step down as the T20 captain, things happened and he was not the captain of any of the formats anymore. But that's something that Pat Cummins will do. He's fantastic in Tests. He's the World Cup winning ODI captain. So maybe just burden him less a little with the T20 captaincy. And we knew that he'll be there in the T20. I don't find any bowler to be superior than Pat Cummins in the modern day times, at the current times, eventually in the Test cricket, and the way he's been performing throughout. So now, coming to the fact that captain versus captain, Shreyas Iyer might know the conditions better. Gautam Gambhir, as his mentor, might know the conditions better. Will it help or will it not?
I think as much as I just gave a long answer talking about the importance of the captaincy, we do probably overstate it a little bit. Ultimately, it comes down to Richie Banner used to say captaincy is 90% luck and 10% ability, but don't try it without the 10%.
Yeah.
I think Shreyas Iyer and Pat Cummins both have that 10%. They're both very, very good captains.
Good captains.
And obviously, Gambhir and Chandrikat Pandit are very astute tacticians. And I believe that Pat Cummins and Daniel Vittoria are as well.
Yeah.
Sounds like they've probably got slightly different ways of doing it. I think Pandit might be from the old school of a little bit more of a disciplinarian, where the Cummins Vittoria situation is a lot more let's give the players very calm atmosphere and a freedom with which to play their best. And I liked Pat Cummins' quotes in the lead up to the game that we are going to play aggressively no matter what. And I'm sure he said to someone like Abhishek Sharma, listen, I know it's the final and I know you're going to get criticised if you go out there and smack the first ball straight up in the air. You will get criticised from me. If you go out there and the first ball's there in your arc to hit it, do what you've been doing all tournament and smack it into the crowd. Because if you go out there and play tentatively, you're kind of guaranteed to not do well. If you go out there, express yourself, well, you can't always succeed, but it gives you the best chance of succeeding.
Right, absolutely. And that's the success mantra for SRH Hyderabad this season. If their openers play just 6 overs, the match over for the other side. So that's a thing. But the final segment of the show, the prediction time. I'm going to ask you what's going to be in the first inning score and who's going to win. Same goes for you. Who's going to be the highest scorer, the highest wicket taker, the best bowler, and the predictions starting from you.
Okay, well, if I get all of these right, it'll be a miracle. I'd love to be able to do 2, one with you and one without you. But I think that I hope and I think that the first innings will be higher than what we saw in the semi-final. I think that it is going to be a pitch that hopefully gives a little bit more for the batters. So I'm hoping we can at least see 180, 190, for the first innings score. I think that Kolkata have been the best side throughout the entire tournament. But as I said right at the start, I think that maybe tonight Sunrisers might just pick them at the post. In terms of who I think the star players will be, I think that for Sunrisers, I'm going to go Klassen. I think that
Klassen, because he plays spin well.
And I think he's a superstar, and I think Tripathi as well as he's done in the last 2 games, will feel that he left a bit out there in terms of he's very frustrated with both of his dismissals. So looking to potentially those 2. And for Kolkata, their top player, I mean, the easy one to say is Sunil Narayan, because I think he's been the absolute standout star of the entire tournament. But maybe I'll go Chakravarti as their top player.
Chakravarti, good picks. And no batsman from KKR?
Well, my favourite is Ramandeep Singh. And
he bats down the low.
I know. So it's hard to see him doing anything. But so if forced to go for someone up high, maybe Venkatesh Iyer.
Venkatesh Iyer? So what's your pick, sir?
If Kolkata's going to have a good game,
okay,
which they should.
I think like purple.
With the batting, I think Venkatesh is going to be very key. Why? Because I think he's got the understanding, and I think he's got the right formula for how you approach finals. Okay? The way he was belligerent in that game versus Sunrisers Hyderabad
in the qualifier.
I think that's the sort of mental approach that you need. Okay, you leave it all out there. You don't go second guessing yourself. And I think with bowling, if it so happens that it turns or not, I think Chakravarti will be very key in the sense that people try and be too respectful of Sunil.
Yeah.
And then try and take on Chakravarti.
And Chakravarti get the wickets.
Yeah. So, and if SRH play a good game, I'm seeing Klaassen doing very well. I see him coming in early. He's got a bit of an ability. He's got the ability to face both seamers and spin. I think that's all. That's a player that's very, very crucial for any winning side. And then with the ball, I think Pat Cummins, the captain, his ability to stop balls and then mix it up.
And just when he mixes it up, Pat Cummins, one ball's come at 145, the other is at 120.
That's exactly
then it makes it a difference, and then it makes it difficult. But that's so. Final call: Sunrisers, KKR.
Sunrisers.
Sunrisers, KKR.
KKR.
And I'll be on your team. I'm very sorry. I'm going with KKR. So KKR for me, KKR for him, Sunrisers for him. Who are you supporting? Let us know in the comment section. But now it's time to glamour things up. So I'll be taking an exit, and another anchor, Poonam, will join us. Poonam ma'am will join us, and she'll take over the show. But aap aise hi bane rahiye cricket.com ke saath. And if you're just before we switch, you're supporting KKR, you have to say one line for me. They say, "Cold ball, Lord bo, jeet bo." It's a success mantra for KKR.
Okay, I'll have to try. Come on, let's go.
Cold ball, Lord bo,
Lobo,
jeet bo.
Jibo.
So
Kobo, Lobo, Jibo.
So it's not Hindi, it's actually the native language of Kolkata.
Oh,
It's
nice.
said that KKR is winning tonight.
KKR is winning tonight.
So and you know Hyderabad is famous for its biryani.
I do that, yes.
Have you tried the biryani?
I have.
So great. So you said Hyderabad jeetega. Very simple for you.
Say it again, sorry.
Hyderabad jeetega.
Hyderabad Jeetega.
Yeah. So good. Hyderabad jeetega and Kolbo Lorbo jeetbo. But yes, over to Pune.
Hey, hi.
Hey.
So now it's going to be today a very interesting game, I must say, and it's a final one. So whom you're supporting, sir?
I'm supporting Sunrisers Hyderabad.